There's George's version of the flying mare.
Why did it not resonate with me? Why am I not a wrestling guy? I wish I was. I think I would have been a better person if I was into professional wrestling. Because if I was into professional wrestling, I know that some things that you may know in your heart are bullshit are just tremendous. Tremendous spectacles of theater and athletics and blood and guts and screaming and yelling. I would know that those things, even though it's not real, but some of the blood is real and some of these guys get really hurt, but you know what I'm saying? They're scripts. If I had been into that, perhaps I wouldn't expect that out of my life. Perhaps my personal life would be a little less dramatic if I had a healthy respect of professional wrestling. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's no different in a lot of ways than wanting to do any other expressive endeavor. You know, to be in a band, to be a comedian, to be an artist of some kind. Didn't Roland Barthes, the famous philosopher and lit critic and Semiotician, write an essay, a fairly well-known essay on wrestling that I tried to process when I was a younger man in his book, Mythologies, which I have had for 20 years sitting on my bookshelf? But now I understand it differently. I understand the roles. You know, it didn't matter whether it was real or not. This was a spectacle. This was theater. You had the heel, you had the face, you had the struggle of right and wrong, and it was portrayed consistently. And there were narratives that were, that carried throughout several matches. And it was a whole world unto itself. And reality, or whether it was true or not, had nothing to do with it. So I pick up Roland Barthes. I will quote him now. As soon as the adversaries are in the ring, the public is overwhelmed with the obviousness of the roles. As in the theater, each physical type expresses to excess the part which has been assigned to the contestant. So right away, you're like, that's the bad guy, that's the good guy. Now that bad guy's got to pay. However much you have invested in the particular character. I mean, there are several different types of heel. There are a few different types of face, and you get attached to these conflicts, and you get attached to these characters and how they're portrayed by specific wrestlers. See, I never knew that. I never really took into that. For me, it was always like, it's fake, who gives a shit? Because I'm unable to connect to what I see as a charade. I tend to gravitate and need something real. I wish that I could connect and feel these feelings. But he goes on to speak. It is obvious that at such a pitch, it no longer matters whether the passion is genuine or not. What the public wants is the image of passion, not passion itself. There is no more a problem of truth in wrestling than in the theater. In both, what is expected is the intelligible representation of moral situations which are usually private. This exhaustion of the content by the form is the very principle of triumphant classical art. Wrestling is an immediate pantomime, infinitely more efficient than the dramatic pantomime, for the wrestler's gesture needs no anecdote, no decor, in short, no transference in order to appear true. It's the fulfilling of desire, of justice, and of comeuppance, and the stringing along of that tension. But you know it's going to be relieved. Where else can you find that? He says some wrestlers who are great comedians entertain as much as a Molière character because they succeed in imposing an immediate reading of their inner nature. I read that this morning and I was like, holy fuck, that is what a good comedian is. God damn it, I gotta do some work on my act. But nonetheless, you could see how this would be compelling to a young person to want to be this, to have this feeling, to have this control, to have a context, to express yourself in a very specific way that will garner great results if you do it perfectly or you do it the best you can. It's interesting that this was what defined Andy Kaufman's later career, was his portrayal of the heel in his wrestling period, and how he, of course it would be attracted to him. He challenged audiences anyways, but he was able to find a perfect outlet and form, almost, take what he had been doing his entire career to the next level, both in the ring and then in reality. And he was, you were not able to really tell whether he was being real or not, or where the prank ended or it didn't, but he was the heel all the way through. That is what you want, is the justice, and you know it's going to come. You don't know how long it'll be strung along and how many matches it will take or what the arc of the narrative is or who the heel is or who the face is, but how often in life do you experience the satisfaction of real justice being delivered? How often does that happen? And the craving for justice, especially in a chaotic world that seems to be full of evil at some time, is deep and rarely satisfied. So this is what wrestling can enact for people that will suspend their disbelief in order to enjoy it and to feel that satisfaction. But I thought this really sums it up. When the hero or the villain of the drama, the man who was seen a few minutes earlier possessed by moral rage, magnified into a sort of metaphysical sign, leaves the wrestling hall, impassive, anonymous, carrying a small suitcase and arm in arm with his wife, no one can doubt that wrestling holds the power of transmutation, which is common to the spectacle and to religious worship. In the ring and even in the depths of their voluntary ignominy, wrestlers remain gods because they are, for a few moments, the key which opens nature, the pure gesture which separates good from evil and unveils the form of a justice which is at last intelligible. What kid wouldn't want to be part of that?
You're a pro wrestler. You are. Good job. Good job over there. Arigato.